The 2025 season is shaping up to be a very darning playground between some of the drivers on the grid, including Verstappen and Russell. Although these two didn't really have a lot of opportunities to fight on the track, the Brit has taken a stance when it comes to Verstappen's attitude, and now that they might be closer than ever, sparks will definitely fly when they'll see each other in the mirrors. But will Verstappen succumb under the pressure now that he's been dominating the sport for quite some time? And will the RB21 prove to be the factor that puts him in the position of fighting with Russell in the first place? Whether we like it or not, there is a very unusual rivalry brewing ahead of us in 2025, the Russell-Verstappen one. And I know it's really hard to understand given the fact that one is a four-time championship winner and has battled Hamilton for his maiden title, won 19 out of 23 races in 2023 and won his last championship in the third fastest car on the grid. The other one has 3 race wins behind his name and is yet to sniff a championship fight, although he might be closer now than ever given Mercedes' recent statements regarding the 2025 and 2026 season. But still, Russell felt like the situation of Verstappen is not something that should be accepted on the grid among all of the drivers, with the first signs being shown last year during the Qatar GP. After being stripped away from the pole position by the stewards, Verstappen overtook Russell at turn 1, but the Brit said that the Red Bull driver promised to put me on my head in the wall. Team bosses have been involved in this conflict as well, but it hasn't really resulted in anything positive to come out of it. The war has continued to ravage, and even though Verstappen said that he doesn't want to spend time on two-faced people like Russell, that seemed to have ignited the fire even further in the Mercedes driver. Being the Mercedes leader in 2025 and having yet to prove that he can be the driver the team believes he can be, Russell has declared that he's not going to stand around and be bossed by any driver on the grid, let alone Verstappen, the man who's gotten away with any type of behaviour. Elaborating further on this, Russell said, "I wasn't just going to stand and be bullied around. People seem to always back down to him, and that's just not how I go about my business. I am not there to be best friends with a world champion. I am here to win," and that is his mentality as well. There is no love lost. I've never been scared to race against Max. I've always put up a fight. Furthermore, the Brit was very confident about the fight that is waiting for him ahead of the new campaign, and when talking about it, he said, "I know my time will come, and I've just got to ensure that I keep on performing, and whether it's this year or next year, it will come, and if I keep delivering those results as I did over these last 3 years against the best driver of all time, I believe I will get myself in the fight and hopefully a world championship to my name." However, the situation can be seen from Max's perspective as well, because even though he's a kind of menace on the grid, the situation in Qatar was quite unusual for the Dutchman. He was very surprised that he even got a penalty for that type of mispositioning on the grid when Russell wasn't even pushing on a fast lap, and that is not even the worst part of the entire situation. He was very disappointed with how Russell acted in front of him when there were cameras around and how he acted when there weren't any cameras and it was only them and the stewards. Verstappen said that it was the biggest switch of personality he's ever seen, because he's been in that room with tons of drivers before and it's never gotten to that point where he can legitimately lose respect for someone so fast. Sharing his story on this incident, Verstappen said, "I was quite surprised when sitting there in the stewards room about what was going on. Honestly, it was very disappointing because I think we are all here, we all respect each other a lot, and of course I've been in that meeting room many times in my life, in my career, with people that I've raced, and I've never seen someone trying to screw someone over that hard, and that for me, I lost all respect." This is probably one of the reasons why Verstappen was booed to a great extent during the F1 75 event in London, apart from his personal beef with the British media and the fact that the 2021 season has pictured him as the greatest villain in the UK's sports history. Be that as it may, the opinion of Max is not something that can change based on other people's reactions and what they believe of him. So to say that he will continue to do his job properly and push for greatness is probably the right thing to assume at this point in his career. On the other hand, we have the words that have been swung back and forth between Horner and Wolff, as they haven't restrained from entering a battle when it comes to their own drivers. They are notorious rivals on the grid and they know when they need to stand their ground. So Horner's advice to Russell was just to keep his head where it needs to be and don't push push it in other people's business, as he believes that the actions of Russell were a bit hysterical during the Qatar GP. This is something that didn't sit well with Wolff, who went on to aggressively comment about Horner's stance and said that it's not his job to address the behaviour of the drivers, calling him a yapping little terrier. Wolff has gone on a rant against his colleague, and it's like he's been waiting for this to happen for quite a long time. And believe me when I say this, things are not going to simmer down very quickly. Quite the contrary. All of these statements are forecasting a very interesting and highly anticipated period ahead of us, in which we might see unusual battles between Russell and Verstappen. But now that the scene is set, there is one question that needs to be answered. Which team will have the better car in 2025? From the first take, you would probably say Red Bull, because it's not just about the Challenger itself, right? We've seen that with Verstappen last year, and we've seen that when the time comes, he is here to deliver, and there is no one that can stop him. But on the other hand, the deficit compared to the other teams has grown, and it might have reached a point now of Verstappen having to hope for an intra-team battle in Ferrari and McLaren so that he can capitalise on something, whereas the hopes in Mercedes are extremely high regarding the upcoming season. The pre-season testing in Bahrain has given the Brackley-based squad a lot of info when it comes to the car's behaviour and the translation of the data from the simulator to the track, and now they even have the first upgrade package prepared for their car, even though the season is yet to start. But what is worth mentioning is that the team has seen a lot of positives from the W16 before they've even set it on the track, which is why they're hoping they can fight a bit higher in the pecking order and not just for the third or fourth spot in the Constructors' Championship. This is something that has been elaborated further on by Wolff, who stated, "We can't wait to go racing in 2025. Everyone at the team in Brackley and Brixworth has been hard at work over the winter. Last season was incredibly competitive on the track, and whilst we took several wins, we were all focused on challenging for victories more consistently." On the other hand, the vibes from Red Bull are not as positive as maybe we would like, and it's definitely going to affect their performance sooner rather than later, as the pre-season testing in Bahrain has shown that it's not precisely the type of car that they hoped they would produce for the first couple of races. The team doesn't expect to be competitive in Melbourne, at least not for the race win, and Verstappen as well as Wash have shared their concerns about the RB21's development pace. Further elaborating on this, as well as the car's generals, Verstappen said, "The car can't be worse than last year. I think the direction we are working in is good. We just need to follow that and see how much we can extract. At the moment, it's really early days. A lot of things are still being discussed and we want to improve, but I enjoyed the opening day of pre-season testing, and that is already a big difference from last year." With all this in mind, do you think there will be a situation in which the tension between Russell and Verstappen will rise on the track and they will fight much more frequently than they have until now? Let us know in the comments below, and if you're interested in Ferrari's sandbagging tactics, make sure to check out the video that appears on your screen right now.